Good day, everyone. I am Anafio Epes. Welcome to our Zoom discussion on the topic Discourse Analysis and Critical Discourse Analysis. In this session, we will be exploring the ways in which language functions beyond the sentence level, and we will also examine how meaning is constructed within social context. My part of this discussion is focused on the discourse analysis, abbreviated as DA. I encourage everyone to actively participate and share your thoughts as I discuss this topic. So let's start. What is the word discourse? The word discourse, according to Merriam-Webster, means a verbal interchange of ideas, especially in conversation. When we say discourse, the focus is the interaction of the people in terms of their everyday conversation. So discourse analysis, or DA, the study of language in use. It focuses on how language is actually used in communication rather than just its grammatical structure. It also focuses on how language constructs meaning. Language is not just a tool for communication. DA is used in linguistics and other disciplines. It is widely applied in fields like sociology, media studies, and political science beyond just linguistics. So it recognizes the patterns and structure in speech. Language has order and logic, even in informal conversation, which is the DA, or the discourse analysis, aim to uncover. It highlights the variability in communication. So different people and context leads to different ways of using the language, which is the discourse analysis studies. The context influences the interpretation. So the meaning of the words and phrases can be changed depending on the situation or setting. This is commonly used in qualitative research, often applied that focuses on interpreting meaning rather than just number, definition, and key features of discourse analysis. Traditional linguistics doesn't just study sentence structure. It looks at how language is used in conversation. It examines communication in real-life context. The DA focus on language as it is spoken and written in everyday interaction, not just in textbook. It recognizes making tool. So words and phrases don't just describe reality. They shape how people understand it. Example is, in Tagalog, the word langgam means an. Bisaya, the word langgam means. So words and phrases different in different setting and different everyday interacts of a different different tribes. So language is not neutral or objective. People beliefs, emotion, and experiences influence the way they use and interpret language. So it's a case-to-case basis depending on people on how they use the language. It helps in understanding social interaction by analyzing the language. Discourse analysis helps us understand relationships, power dynamics, and cultural differences. The common data source of discourse analysis is informal conversation and interviews. So they often studies natural and spoken interaction to see how people communicate in everyday life. Academic journal articles and research papers. So written texts are also analyzed to understand how knowledge is constructed. Newspaper and article and media reports are, so media shapes the public opinion and are one of the valuable sources of discourse analysis. Political speech chosen to influence audience, making it an important area of the study. Everyday social interactions, from casual chats to workplace discussions, at language operating in society. Online and digital communication studied for insight into modern discourse. It also analyzed the language used in various settings. The DA is flexible tool used to study communication in different environments and cultures. So the use of DA, and for instance, is if you want to apply the discourse analysis two of your friends are having an argument. So to use the discourse analysis, you have to interview both of them and analyze their tonality of the voice, their gesture, their pauses, and etc. Use language in journal and discussions. They found differing description of similar events. The same scientific event was described differently depending on the context. Showed language shapes perception of reality. Their findings demonstrated that language is not just reflection of reality. It language construct the reality. Gilbert and Mulcahy's research is they analyzed scientists' written and spoken discourse. They compared formal scientific writing to informal discussion, found the difference between formal and informal writing. Language is used in journal was different from language in interviews. The academic writing was structured and objective. Journals used in specific and formal way of writing that presented facts. And the interviews were informal and personal. Scientists spoke differently when interviewed using personal opinions, experiences, and stories. And they realized that language frames experiences differently. The same event could be described in different ways depending on how language was used. It challenged the idea of neutral description, and they showed that even in scientific language, is influenced by personal and social factors, demonstrated the variability in discourse. So language is flexible and change depending on the situation and audience. So empiricist and contingent repertoire. So these two style was discourse identified in the research. So scientists use two distinct ways to talking about their work. So first one is the empiricist repertoire. It is more formal and structured. This style presented science as objective and fact-based. It uses scientific language and procedures, focus on methodological and personal descriptions of the research. It presents the findings as objective truths. The scientific writing tried to remove personal bias and emotions. On the other hand, contingent repertoire, it is informal and more personal. This style was more flexible and include personal perspectives, includes opinions, personal details, and emotions. Scientists in informal settings spoke about their work differently, shows how language creates different realities. So the way we talk about things influence how we understand them. In conclusion, the discourse analysis shows language is not purely objective. So language is always shaped by social, cultural, and personal factors. Different settings create different meanings, so the same words can be mean different things in different situations. Context heavily influence language use, so we change our way of speaking based on who we are talking to and why. And it challenges the idea of absolute neutrality, so they suggest that there is no single or unbiased way to use the language. It is used in linguistics, sociology, and media studies. Many disciplines use DA to study communication, and it helps analyze social and cultural communications. DE provides insight into how language shapes society. So, continue to develop in modern research. As a language evolves, the DE continues to expand and adapt. So, that is all.
Oh, hello, everyone. Good day. Just for formalities, let me introduce myself. My name is Irene Grace Alingalan, and at this moment, I'm going to discuss the 4K features of discourse analysis or DA. So since this is a continuation topic of what is Ms. Anna Etes have discussed, so I hope that everyone is familiar what is discourse analysis and expected that these key features are still related to language or linguistics. Okay, so we have 4K features. So first, principle of variability. So when we say variability, from its root word, variable, it is the ability to change, adapt, or adjust. So principle of variability. Language is used for a variety of functions and its use has variable consequences. So language is very versatile. And the same event or idea can be described in different ways depending on the audience, the purpose of communication and the context. So we all know what's context, right? So this leads to a significant variation of or how things are said or how those things are understood. So what is the implication of this for discourse analysis? So discourse analysis recognizes and analyzes this variability, understanding that the way something is said is as important as what is said. So interpretation is not subjective, but are shaped with these contextual factors. So all in all, discourse analysis recognizes language changes based on the context. Second one, constructed and constructive nature of language. So DA or discourse analysis sees language as building our understanding of the world, not just mirroring it. So this point emphasizes that language isn't just a neutral tool for describing reality. So as what I have read, it's not just mirroring reality. So instead, language actively constructs our understanding of reality. So every account, descriptions, or narrative is an interpretation, creating a version of reality rather than reflecting it. So even similarly objective account is or are shaped by the speaker's perspective and the context of communication. So what is the implication of this for discourse analysis? Um, Discourse analysis treats language as a dynamic process of meaning making, focusing on how language is used to create or negotiate social realities. It doesn't seek single objective truth, but um, but explores the multiple interpretations and perspectives of. It doesn't seek a single objective truth, but explores multiple perspective or interpretation embedded in language use. So we have the third one, interpretative repertoire. So discourse analysis studies these recurring patterns to understand how people think and communicate about the topic. So interpretative repertoire is referring to the recurring patterns or style in language used to people employ in a specific context. So these patterns includes vocabulary choices, grammatical structures, figures of speech, which includes idioms and metaphor and other linguistic features. So the phrases, as what Miss Anna explains a while ago, that repertoire is not formal. It's a style or more on informal. So they use these words or phrases when they're talking to a certain context or topic. So any question about this one?
I have a question. Uh,
Yeah.
can you give an example of repertoire in in a context?
So I have been here an example. So let us say the context is you're talking with someone about a soccer game or football game. So you might use the words like stunning goal, tactical masterclass, or missed opportunity. So those phrases are not kind of formal, and this pattern is very familiar to those who are watching football or soccer games. So this is what they call repertoire because these phrases is what they use when they are referring to something connected to the topic that the context is what about. So are we clear about this one?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So what is the implication of interpretative repertoire for discourse analysis? So discourse analysis use the analysis of this repertoire as a key tool. So by identifying the recurring patterns in a language, researchers can gain insights in the underlying beliefs, values, or uh, social processes to shape communication. And we have here, so the last one, a combination of micro and macro analytical approaches. So discourse analysis combines both analyzing specific words and the big picture of the social context. So discourse analysis combine both micro level and macro level analysis. So let's talk about these two one by one. So first, micro analysis. So micro analysis involves detailed examinations of a certain linguistic features within a text or conversation. So example, you're analyzing specific words or grammatical structures. So since you're analyzing every single detail of a text, it is what they call micro analysis. So we are familiar with the word micro and macro. When we say micro, it's smaller or little, and macro it's bigger or yeah, bigger. So that's for micro analysis. It involves detailed examination. So little by little examinations or analyzing little detail. Now, what's about the macro analysis? So macro analysis looks at a broader pattern or context, considering the social and cultural factors that influence language use. So we can see the difference of these two analyses. So microanalysis examines every detail of a text. It's more detailed, but macroanalysis looks at the bigger picture or the whole context of the text or the conversation. So what's the implication of this for discourse analysis, since this is a combination of both micro level and macro level? So discourse analysis have a use of this because the combinations allows the researchers to connect the detailed linguistic observations to wider social and cultural context. So these integrated approaches helps language to explain the use of reflex and the shapes of that connects communication. So to sum it all up, discourse analysis is focusing on how we use language to create meaning and understanding, not just about language on itself. And it recognizes that language is flexible, subjective, and deeply connected to social context. So that's all for my topic.
Okay, good day, ma'am. We are about to talk discourse analysis, day 8, the summary of this topic. So, challenges traditional linguistic positivist view of language, embracing a social constructionist perspective. So, it analyzes how language constructs social realities, combining micro-level linguistic feature with macro-level social context. So, while effective in deconstructing discourse, particularly politicals and media narratives, they lack a fully formalized methodology borrowing from various fields. So its influence is significant in applied linguistic and related disciplines. So in short, this course analysis is a way of studying how language create meaning and shape social reality. So it examine how language is used in different contexts like politics or media to understand power dynamic and influence. So one of the example of this is imagine in a news report about political protests. So they would analyze the language used to describe the protester, the event itself, and the authorities' response. So, for example, the protester and the rioter. So this word frame the event differently with protester, suggesting peaceful dissent, and rioter implying violence and chaos. So by examining these linguistic choices, they reveals how language construct meaning. That's all. Thank
Good day, everyone. My name is Wendell Indig. My topic is critical discourse analysis. CDA evolved formally in the early 1990s as a perspective applied by a network of scholars with shared political concern without social inequalities in the world, but with widely differing interests uh, and races such as literature, politics, media studies, genre studies, and information technology. Critical linguistics of Fowler Art et al. 1979 is the forerunner of CDA and looks closely at how future of grammar works ideologically within individual texts to undermine oppressed groups. Two French discourse analysis features in 1982 looks at the ideological effects of discursive formation and positioning people as social subject, but does not emphasize practical application of theory. Social emotionistics Hodge and Chris in 1988 explored ways of analyzing multimodal text and practice of reading and interpreting. For socio-cognitive studies, Van the IGK in 1991 focused on the reproduction of inequalities such as racism, ethics, and predexes and discourse and media, communication linking, cognition with wider social process. Course historical method aims to integrate systematically all available interpretation of the many layers of the writing of spoken text, Berkeley and Wodak in 1997 and 2006. Three meta functions of language that are continuously interconnected. First is the additional, second the interpersonal, third the last number the textual. So overall understanding about main topic of CDA is the critical and interdisciplinary field that aims to understand how language is used to create, maintain, and challenging power relations in society. It uses a variety of method and perspective to maximize the complex ways in which language interacts with social, political, and cultural forces. That's all. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, I have a question. What are the three meta functions of language that are continuously interconnected?
The additional, the interpersonal, the textual. That's all.
Critical discourse analysis, or CDA, is a way of studying how language both reflects and influences power in society. And here's a simpler breakdown of its main ideas. Language and power, or CDA, looks at how language and can maintain or challenge power imbalances, especially in areas like gender, race, and social class. And for the gender, women tend to use language more expressively, focusing on relationships and feelings, and while men often use language more directly and focused on facts. And for the social class, refers to this variation in speech patterns, dialect, and vocabulary that can be observed among different racial groups. And for the race, and refers to the distinct variation in speech patterns, vocabulary, and pronunciation that can occur between people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And emancipatory agenda. One of the goals of CDA is to create social change. Its emancipatory agenda. One of the goals of CDA is to create how language change. It focuses on analyzing how language supports those in power and aims to expose and address important social issues. Next, and context. CDA goes beyond just looking at things like sentence structure and word choice. It also takes into account the historical and cultural context that influence how texts are created and interpreted. This helps show how social structures shape both the production and understanding of language. Next, self-reflexivity. People doing CDA research are encouraged to be aware of their own biases and assumptions. It's important that researchers understand how their own perspective, and often influenced by theories like Marxism, shape their analysis. Interdiscursivity and intertextuality. And CDA examines how different discourses or ways of talking about things affect each other and how texts build on or refer to previous ones. And this helps us understand how language is shaped by historical power relations. Deconstruction. CDA looks at how power dynamics in text and influence people's identities and social roles. For instance, it might explore how gender policies are framed in political or institutional. Reconstruction, or CDA, looks at how power dynamics in text influence people's identities or social roles. For instance, it might explore and how gender policies are framed in political or institutional discussion and whether they challenge or reinforce inequality. In short, CDA connects language to bigger social issues and aiming to critique and challenge the power structures that create inequality. There's any question, guys?
I have a question. How does critical discourse analysis, or CDA, help us understand the relationship between language and power in society?
Actually, critical discourse analysis, or CDA, help us to understand the relationship between language and power by examining on how language can either support or challenge power imbalances in society. And it looks at how language is used to maintain control, and especially in areas like gender, race, and social class. CDA goes beyond just analyzing word choice and sentence structure. So it considers the historical and cultural context that influence how language produced and interpreted. By doing it so, it reveals how social structures shape language and how language in turn can reinforce or challenge these structures. And CDA also encourages self reflexivity, and where researchers reflect on their own biases and assumptions. And it explores how different discourses and texts are interconnected, showing how power dynamics influence people's identities and roles in societies. Ultimately, CDA aims to critique and maintain inequality. That would be all.
Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Sir Angel Piagpoon, and my topic is all about critical discourse analysis. CDA explores the relationship between language, power, and society. No single study is representative of the entire field due to its diverse theoretical approaches. However, CDA often focuses on institutional discourse and media language. Critical discourse analysis or CDA is a comprehensive method for studying language that focuses on how discourse helps reproduce power structure in society, particularly in institutions like the media and politics. One of CDA's main strengths is its ability to uncover the hidden ideologies with everyday language, showing how powerful groups use language to maintain control over marginalized communities. This approach offers important insight into how language not only reflects but also reinforces societal hierarchies, especially in political settings. Bandijik's 1993 study on racism in political discourse. An example of CDA in action is A. Bandijik's study of political discourse, which examined a British conservative MP defending a right-wing views on multicultural education. Bandijik uses a detailed layered analysis of the speech, starting with the broader context such as setting and genre, before narrowing on specific linguistic features like the use of words as a mob or thoughts to label political opponents. This step-by-step reconstruction CDA reveals how language is used to justify and legitimize power, exposing how discourse reflects and sustains power relations in society. CDA's contribution to linguistics. CDA has faced significant criticism. Some linguists argue that CDA is too vague in its methodology and often produces biased interpretation, especially given its ideological focus. Critics, particularly those adhering to a more scientific or positivist approach, question the subjectivity of CDA methods and its potential for selectivity and partiality. They argue that CDA's inherent political bias sometimes make it seem more like advocacy than objective analysis. However, proponents of CDA appreciate its transparency in the way it links language to power, viewing it as valuable tool for exploring how language shapes social realities and reinforces ideologies. And that's all for my topic. Do you have any question, guys?
Yes, I do have a question. So my question is, what is one of the core strengths of critical discourse analysis, CDA, and how does it contribute to understanding power dynamic in society?
I think one of the core CDA strengths lies in exposing hidden ideologies in language, showing how powerful groups use it to maintain dominance. This helps reveal how language both reflects and reinforces societal power structures, particularly in institutional and political contexts. That's all.
Okay, thank you.